This content is not legal, tax, or financial advice. Now, let's open the file.
Marcus's temporary collection hold is set to expire in exactly 7 days. If the hold expires before the manual examiner signs off on the new returns, the computer system will automatically default back to the original $84,000 judgment, and the bank levies will snap shut all over again. The final package of tax returns was thick, wrapped in a heavy paperclip, and sent via certified mail with tracking. Marcus watched the mail carrier take it, feeling as though he was sending a message in a bottle across a violent ocean. 6 days passed. The tracking number confirmed the documents had arrived at the processing center in a distant city, dropped into a mailroom containing millions of other sheets of paper. Now, it was the night before the collection hold was set to expire. Marcus sat at his desk, staring at his banking app on his phone. The account balance was visible, but a small text notification beneath it remained. Administrative hold pending system release. If the clock strikes midnight and the automated system does not see a specific extension code from an examiner, the account will lock completely. The tech startup client had already intimated that if the administrative hold wasn't permanently lifted by the end of the week, they would be forced to terminate Marcus's design contract permanently to protect their own corporate payroll compliance. His phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah, who was staying at her sister's house for the week. The message was simple. Did they clear it? Marcus began typing a response, but his hand froze over the glass screen. He had spent 3 years believing that if he didn't make a sound, the beast wouldn't wake up. He learned the hard way that the beast never sleeps. It just counts in silence. Suddenly, a new email notification popped up at the top of his screen. The sender address was an official automated notification system. The subject line read, "Status update regarding case number ending in 402." Marcus held his breath, his finger hovering over the unread message. His entire future, his relationship, his career, and every dollar he had ever earned rested on what was written inside that digital envelope. Had an examiner opened his package and paused the countdown? Or had his files been buried in the processing backlog, leaving the machine to automatically execute the final seizure of his life? Marcus tapped the email. The screen began to load, and then the screen went completely white. The white screen on Marcus's phone lingered for several seconds. Then the message appeared. Marcus read every line twice. The returns had been received. That was the good news. The bad news came immediately afterward. Due to current processing backlogs, review of original returns submitted to replace substitute for returns could take several months. Marcus closed his eyes. Months. After everything he had done to reconstruct the records, gather the documents, and finally file the returns, the package was now sitting in a queue somewhere waiting for someone to open it. His phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't an email. It was a notification from his bank. Marcus felt his stomach tighten. He opened the banking app. The balance was still there, but something had changed. A notice had appeared on the account. The bank had received legal paperwork affecting funds on deposit. Marcus stared at the screen. The levy. the bank received the notice of levy. Not every dollar was gone, not yet. But for the first time, the threat wasn't theoretical. It was real. The machinery he had ignored for 3 years had finally reached his bank. His hands began to shake. He immediately called the number on the levy notice. The automated system informed him that collection offices were closed. He hung up. Called again. Same message. There was nobody to talk to. Nobody to explain that the returns had finally been filed. Nobody to tell that the package was already sitting in a processing center. Nobody to tell that he wasn't running anymore. For the rest of the night, he sat alone in the darkness of his office. The glow of the computer monitor illuminated stacks of reconstructed records and receipts spread across the desk. For months, those papers had represented hope. Now they felt unbearably late. Around 3 a.m, another email arrived. This one wasn't from the government. It was from his largest client. The message wasn't a termination notice, not yet, but it was a warning. Because of the unresolved tax issues and uncertainty surrounding future payment processing, the company was placing new projects on hold pending resolution of the matter. Marcus leaned back in his chair. The pressure was spreading into every corner of his life: his finances, his business, his relationship, his future. He had spent 3 years trying to become invisible, but the system had never stopped moving. It had simply been moving toward him one notice at a time. The next morning, he heard the front door open. Sarah stepped inside carrying her suitcase. She took one look at Marcus and knew something had happened. "The levy notice reached the bank," he said quietly. Sarah set the suitcase down. "Did they take everything?" Marcus shook his head. "Not yet." "Good." Marcus looked up. "Good? The money is still there? For now? Then we still have time." Marcus laughed bitterly. "The returns are sitting in a backlog that could take months." Sarah pulled out a chair and sat at the dining room table. Then she reached into her bag and removed a notebook filled with handwritten notes. "Maybe." She opened the notebook. "But while I was at my sister's house, I found something interesting." Marcus looked at her. Sarah slid the notebook across the table. "There is an independent organization that helps taxpayers when delays inside the system are about to cause serious financial harm." Marcus stared at the page. At the top, she had written 4 words: Taxpayer Advocate Service. For the first time in days, a small piece of hope returned. Welcome back to Behind the Scenes. Let's look at the ultimate pressure valve built into this massive automated system. The government recognizes that a system running entirely on automated algorithms and massive mailroom backlogs can occasionally create a catastrophic loop if an unfiled taxpayer finally does the right thing, submits their true returns, but faces total financial destruction because the processing mailroom takes 4 months to open the envelope. The system breaks its own objective of fair administration. To fix this, there is an independent arm of the agency called the Taxpayer Advocate Service, or TAS. The Advocate Service acts like an emergency room for tax dilemmas. If a citizen can prove an immediate, severe systemic emergency, such as an automated levy that is about to permanently bankrupt a household or destroy a business while a valid correction is sitting unread in a mailroom, an advocate can intervene. An advocate has the unique administrative authority to bypass the standard processing queues. They can physically issue an emergency directive called a Taxpayer Assistance Order. This order can legally compel the Collections Division to issue an immediate permanent release of a bank levy and force a manual examiner to pull a taxpayer's physical mail package out of the backlog for immediate review. But an advocate is not a defense attorney, and they do not grant forgiveness. They are a referee. They will only step onto the field if the taxpayer has provided 100% accurate, completed documentation to fix the underlying problem. Marcus had finally done his homework. Now, he just had to find someone to read it. 2 days later, Marcus was sitting in a small, quiet office in a local federal building. Across the desk sat an advocate named Evelyn, a no-nonsense professional with decades of agency experience. She reviewed Marcus's bank notices, his cancellation letter from the tech startup, and the certified mail receipt proving his real returns were sitting in the central backlog. Evelyn closed the folder and looked Marcus directly in the eyes. "Mr. Vance, you ignored the system for 3 years because you thought you were invisible. The system isn't a monster. It's a ledger. When you don't write your own lines, the ledger writes them for you based on the harshest possible assumptions." "I know," Marcus said, his voice entirely devoid of the arrogance he had possessed a year ago. "I was wrong. I just want to pay what I actually owe. I want to fix this." Evelyn nodded slowly. "Your reconstructed returns look thorough, and your accountant has done the math correctly. Because this levy has directly cost you your primary client and threatens your basic housing stability, I am accepting your case under our hardship criteria." She reached for her desk phone and entered a direct internal extension code. "I am issuing an immediate Form 911 emergency intervention. I am contacting the Central Processing Center to pull your original returns from the backlog for expedited manual assessment, and I am issuing an immediate permanent release of the bank levy." Marcus felt a physical weight lift from his shoulders so suddenly he almost gasped for air. It took another 2 weeks of intense communication, double-checking receipts, and verifying business expenses with Evelyn's team. But the gears finally turned in Marcus's favor. The massive, automated $84,000 substitute for return assessment was officially wiped away. In its place, the system processed Marcus's real returns, locking in his true tax liability, plus penalties and interest, at $23,500. Evelyn helped Marcus establish a formalized installment agreement, a monthly payment plan that allowed him to pay off his true debt over time in manageable increments without the threat of asset seizures or frozen accounts hanging over his head. His bank account was fully unfrozen. With his compliance status officially marked as resolved, Marcus was able to present the official clearance documents to his tech startup client. Impressed by his transparency and quick resolution, they officially reinstated his design contract. A month later, the storm had fully passed. The home office was quiet once again, but the atmosphere was entirely different. The locked desk drawer was completely open, now organized with neat, labeled files for every invoice and receipt. Marcus sat at his desk, drinking a cup of coffee, looking at a new real estate listing. Sarah walked in, leaning over his shoulder, a genuine smile finally returning to her face. They had lost the first house, but they were building their savings back up. Honestly, transparently, and together. Marcus's phone buzzed. It was Dave. "Hey, man," Dave said on speaker. "Just checking in. Did you ever figure out that situation?" Marcus smiled, looking at the neatly organized tax folder on his desk. "Yeah, Dave. I figured it out. I realized that staying off the radar doesn't mean you're safe. It just means you're walking in the dark." In the modern world, we leave footprints everywhere. Marcus tried to become a ghost, only to discover that the system has an incredibly long memory. He learned that the tax authority doesn't require fear. It requires communication. The machine isn't designed to destroy lives. It is designed to enforce a standard protocol. And when you refuse to participate in that protocol, the system simply fills in the blanks with the worst-case scenario. Marcus faced the shadow, stopped running, and used the rules of the system to rebuild his life from the ground up. He is no longer a ghost in the machine. He is a visible, compliant, and free man. Case status: resolved. But Marcus's story isn't the only way people end up in trouble. Next time on Tax Trouble Files, meet Victor, a successful contractor who believes the federal income tax is unconstitutional. For years, he has followed online gurus who claim that filing tax returns is voluntary, that wages are not income, and that ordinary citizens are not legally required to participate in the tax system. The letters arrive. He laughs. The notices arrive. He ignores them. The warnings become more serious. He files nothing. Because Victor isn't afraid of the system, he's convinced the system is wrong. But somewhere inside a government computer, a file is growing. Information returns, income records, third-party reporting. And while Victor believes he has discovered a secret that millions of taxpayers don't know, the machine keeps counting. Will Victor prove the government wrong? Or will he discover that internet theories collide very differently with reality? Join us next time as we open the file. The Man Who Said No. A story about beliefs, consequences, and what happens when a man decides that the law does not apply to him. We'll see you in the next file. Make sure to hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember, if you stay in the light, the dark can never catch you. We'll see you in the next file.